Good day, dear ones. It is always a big pleasure to spend time and talk with you and share some of our latest discoveries, if you will, and just what things are going through. And I just wanted to thank every one of you that went to the class. Enjoyed that. I always enjoy our classes. Got 70 or more new detoxification specialists out there that can go out and help others, and they learn more about how to help others. It just seems like we ran out of time. We just had so much to cover in 5 days, of course. But level 2, we'll get into it more. And it's just learning, the basics are simple. And I've got so many of your questions that I haven't been able to get to. And I thought I would address you new subscribers and those of you that are new to this site, and the fact that there's just so many videos. But I'll say this, they're pretty redundant in the sense that if you learn that you have a gigantic sewer system in your body that is not only a sewer system, it's your main immune system. It protects you. It is a carrier. It carries nutrients to the liver for processing from the small bowel. There's so much that this system does, and it is almost without exception, almost totally ignored by allopathic and also by a great many naturopaths and homeopaths. And that's because we're coming out of the dark agey concept of diseases and treatment of body symptoms. We must leave that now. As a progressive awareness and the awakening process begins and the expansion of awareness begins, certain things have to die away. Certain things we used and discovered and growth on this planet, and then you can let them go away because they no longer serve the purpose. You've learned from the past, and you don't carry that with you. When you use your mind too much, then you carry things with you. And this is what's happened in physiology and anatomy and all walks of science has a problem with carrying preconceived ideas and faulty theories that abound. And hard to shake truth out of all of that mind mentalism from concepts of old. If you look at books, they're just people's ideas and discoveries of what they thought life is or was, or this part of life, that part of life. There's a point in your lives where you need to lay down your books and journey into the unknown, if you will, known for many, truth, and tackle it on. I've read volumes of libraries in my life, and I've worked with tens and tens of thousands, probably going over toward 150,000 folks in my life. I don't know. Jensen, over 300,000 people he saw. So those of us that are working in real time with people and animals and getting them well, and I think that the importance, and it's why I've been working for so many years before really bringing this out at the level we are, is to build proof, build evidence, show the world that cancers are, in terms of what causes these things, are very curable. As a disease, nothing's curable. Remember that. Don't get trapped with the consciousness of disease, because disease is a fabricated concept of symptoms that the body goes through under certain chemical conditions. Your physical body is a very chemical body, and therefore it relates to chemistry and swims in the ocean of chemistry. All atoms changing. We are totally in a constant state of flux or movement and adaptation and changing. This is why you see so many natural concepts in nature, like the strong survive and the weak are consumed, because life is always tweaking and improving and growing. Amazingly so. You just have to watch National Geographic and Animal Planet enough to go, oh my God, there's an intelligent driver, an awareness. And this is why I hope Chris got up that first part of the class, because I felt it's time. It's time that spirituality dawn, and we just have to. We have enough evidence that the healing side of this is true and accurate and appropriate. We haven't discovered all the connecting links of the lymph system to everything else, but we are more and more. As you see, Marcy has discovered an old chart. Even a medical doctor at the class said he'd never seen that, where the transport of lipids, but I think also amino acids, through the lymphatic capillaries in the villi of the bowels, all the way to the liver for processing. Remember, when you think about the body, you have two major fluids that simply keep the cells of the body healthy. And if you're coming in as a new person, try to set aside preconceived ideas of health and concepts of diseases and radicalism. And start thinking, just relax and start thinking simplicity, how the body is built. And it's built like any other vehicle. You have the structure. You have the inner components that make the structure move. And we have, of course, 5 senses in the human body, much more as we expand, but 5 basic senses, without which, bummer, right? So you have to understand that everything is geared to the human body. But we also have some connecting links to some other bodies that people don't realize that we carry. Because when we think emotions, there isn't a physical chemical process. You can have endorphins, you can have all kinds of things, neurotransmitters, you can have all kinds of things involved in emotions. And if you're too much of a physical scientist, you have locked yourself in a world of hell because you can't grow. Without spirituality and consciousness, you can't grow beyond thoughts. And thoughts will lock you into worlds of hell and confusion where you think you understand things and you don't understand anything. That's why you see the more academically inclined, the more narcissistic of an individual, one who feels aloof of others. And in reality, we all pull from the same consciousness. Everyone is of the same, because someone decides to mature one part of information that's out there over another. Big deal. Doesn't matter if you learn anything and learn whatever you want to learn, it's out there to learn, have fun. But there are plenty of souls that have done with that. And this channel has a lot of those souls coming to it that are done with the physical side of creation and ready to move on. And then you have many of you that are coming here for some of the first times, or at least to this level. So there's all levels that one must understand that life is. But we're all the same. It doesn't matter. It's just we're all on different journeys. But looking at the human body, keep it very simplistic because it's designed of cells. Everywhere you go is cells, bone, muscle, skin, liver, pancreas, ovaries, prostates, lungs, brain. Everywhere you go is cells. We have different names for different cells, from neurons to mast cells to all types. Your B's, your T's, you have all types of immune cells, neutrophils, basal cells, monocytes, all different, but all in the same type of process in the human body, located a little different places in the human body. God designed so cells that make up tissue wouldn't be totally disturbed, because it's all about the cell and how it functions. Cells have memories just like people and just like plants. Hard to understand for scientists, hard to understand for men, but not difficult to understand for those that have pain that's locked into cells from the past, that have phantom limb pains, things like this. There's etheric bodies that are finer than this body. Those that understand that begin to understand why there are beings that are disembodied physically, but that we're communicating. You're seeing more and more of this on TV. But it's also that this world's vibration and the next, the astral world, is getting closer. So you're seeing a lot more things happening. And will. But it's enough to say, keep the physical body and its health simplistic. Understand the great lymphatic system, and you'll understand 99% of man's suffering. And if I can't get to any of you that are suffering, note that all these conditions have a same cause, because you have a system in your body that's head to toe. You have a blood system that runs head to toe, and you have a lymphatic system that runs head to toe. Both come with pipes. Both come with capillaries, little bitty pipes that go out into where all the cells are. The blood feeds. The lymphatic capillaries receive sewage or damaged cells, and those cells and sewage are taking wear. Just like a home. You put your waste in a toilet, and you flush that toilet. These wastes are being carried to the septic tanks. This is a simple tank where it's full of bacterium and fungus and other things, but bacterium predominantly because that's what nature uses to break down sewage. Simple, obvious. As home builders, it's an obvious thing. So body's the same way. You have all these lymph nodes all over the place that are simply little septic tanks. If they get hard, they get backed up because there's filtration on the other side of them isn't functioning. Or a medical doctor decides that they don't understand why a lymph node would swell and remove it. Then those cells that are feeding sewage into those septic tanks have no more septic tank to put sewage in. And we call that lymphedema, which is almost the road to lymphoma. Remember, all these things are lymph. And lymph is the great sewer system of the human body that protects you. This lymph system includes a mucosa that lines every part of your body: bronchi, nose, lungs, sinus, brain, bowels. And this mucosa produces mucus. This is why when you clean your body out, or your body decides to purges itself, which we call cold and flus, things like this, you see mucus coming out. Medical doctors, for some reason, didn't understand this and blame bacterium, depending on the type of the mucus, the degree of the involvement, and big deal, staph, strep, pneumococcus, whatever. These boys are our friends. What we don't understand, it's all about the mucus, not about the bacterium chewing on it. There has to be nature that keeps the body clean. You remember the tale of the young man that got a lymphoma and went up to northern Alaska. This was on Ripley's Believe It or Not. And the northern Alaskan elder put him on rotten food. And the rotten food was full of, obviously, proteolytics. These are the protein splitters, because it's rotten seal meat and the like, and it cleaned his body out for him. So where medical had thought of antibiotics, we talk about probiotics. However, I don't recommend probiotics in the human body. You can't keep nature out, my friends. And as you adapt and change to your lifestyle to different foods, you'll have different bacteria culturing for that type of food that you're eating. There's another level of bacterium out there. There's bacteria that consumes iron. So there's just all kinds of life out there that's there to help us. But the problem with allopathic community is getting aloof from common sense and aloof from that which is simplistic in exchange for that which is bubbling intellectualism that has always a plus factor to it. There's never any remedy. There's never any plus, because you're always looking at the ass end of the donkey, wondering why the symptom is, why the poop is this way, and you're not looking at what's going into the front end. So detoxification is simply the art of cleansing the human body out of all the chemicals that you've ingested through breathing and what you put on your skin and what is found in your foods. Also chemistry of foods that have become free radicals that your body couldn't get rid of. Also, the biggest thing man faces is the removal of cellular byproducts, cellular waste. We don't realize that the body has basically two primary wastes it must get rid of. And these wastes, if allowed to stay in or on the human body, will burn it. Because these wastes belong to one side of chemistry that is a corrosive. And that corrosive side of chemistry burns. And we call that the acid side. That's the heat-producing side, the hot side. That's why when you feel hot, that's acidosis. Heat is building up, meaning acids are building up in the human body. And acids are, like I've said, corrosive, so you can imagine the damage to cells if there was not some type of protection against cell waste. On a baby, we can clean the diaper and clean the bottom, and it's good until the next urination or the next stool. But in the cells, you can't get in and clean the waste, because these are the same waste that you're removing in diapers from babies are the same waste we're talking about. And you have two types. You have digestive waste and you have cellular waste. The cellular wastes are key to get rid of. Digestive waste too. You can always take some stuff and get that going. But cellular waste, a beast of a whole nother color. And you've got several pounds of acid waste from 100 trillion cells, or there roughly, that comprises the human body from scalp all the way down to little pinky, little toe. And these wastes are vital to get rid of, or when they back up, we commonly refer to this as inflammation, pain and swelling. It's simply acidosis. We're witnessing an immune response to a condition that is set up by us and our genetics. And don't let genetics fool you. I have this gene and I can't do this and this gene's missing. Don't fall into that. Because this is too hard to explain it. It's part of class 1, the understanding of consciousness and the way creation is put together. And I think it's vital. Non-religious, not anything. How did God put creation together? Get away from concepts and ideas and worrying about I don't know what. And let's start looking at the truth of things. So many religious people don't want to look at the truth of things, unfortunately. You get locked in your own little world and you get afraid to pick your head out and look in the sunlight. Don't be afraid of that, because that is your awakening, is the light and the sound. You will hear music as you will see light. So it's important to understand this lymphatic system in every sense of the word. And we don't have an appropriate physiology today to understand that. In the past we've had, and we're looking for those old books. And we found some. But conveniently, the lymphatic system has been removed from the kidneys and the trunk that feeds the kidneys from right and left, because each kidney drains specifically each side of the body. You can prove that in clinics. Through 40 years, we prove that. And you can witness this yourself as a practitioner. And we talk a lot about the kidneys. And the reason we talk about the kidneys so much is they're the eliminative organs of the lymphatic system. Not of the blood, of the lymphatic system. The blood doesn't dump waste outside of the body. Blood dumps waste into the lymphatic system, just like everybody else does. That's the sewer system. Where else would you dump waste and byproducts? And so, even the blood has to get rid of waste. And waste predominantly are acids. You can't dump them back in the colon, because now you've got acid burns to the mucosa. You have to find a way to buffer and a way to eliminate properly. And that buffering is called lymph nodes and bacterium. For those that are pH buffs, and truly life is nothing but variances of pH, no matter what you're looking at. At one pH something is positive, and you could say, and at another very corrosive. There's beneficial acids like estrogen and testosterone, and then there are more gnarly acids like cellular waste. Remember the pH scale, 0 to 14, 7 being the neutral, and 14 being the high base, and 0 being the low acid. So where do we fit? Well, blood is 7.4, so on the base side, no question, or the alkaline side, essential because that's the healing side of life. When things become acidic, that's when things break down. That's when pain and swelling, the breakdown of tissue, the loss of calcium, the swelling on the skin, because the skin is the body's third kidney. So all you with acne and psoriasis and all these things, it's just your kidneys, including your skin. And sweating is a huge part of activity and a huge part of elimination of cellular waste. Remember, the body produces a tremendous amount of cellular waste, which are acids, around 3 pH. Phosphoric, carbonic, boratic, uric, lactic in muscles, uric from fungus. So you got all these real hot acids. Compare to stomach acid. Anybody ever belch up stomach acid and get a real burn there? That's hydrochloric acid. That's a pH of around 2. That's 10 times hotter than the acid you feel in your joints when you're hurting and pain, like in arthritises. Lupuses, Lyme's, it's all systemic arthritis. It doesn't matter what you call them. How many people have Lyme's? Lyme's blamed on everything. Then there's lupus, and then there's fibromyalgia. They're all the same, guys. Different factors, rheumatoid factors, this factor, who cares? It's all acidosis. Keep things simple, and you will empower yourself to cure yourself, because everything is curable. We've shown you where people have gotten out of wheelchairs from paraplegics to MS. We've showed you where a spinal bifida case was born without L4, L5 kidney vertebrae now have them. We've showed you all kinds of testimonies and all kinds of people that were gnarled up and then now ungnarling, and those that are ungnarled. Made them front page of newspapers for us. Women who have had their fingers gnarled up, yeah. Organ players of churches, now straight fingers. We showed you how the body responds to energy or intelligence or consciousness, whatever you wish to call that, the life force, spirit, the ek, the prana, whatever name you wish to give it. That which invades all things, gives life and substance and awareness to all things. So when you take a look at this, this is why you see me, and forgive me if I'm a little protective of detoxification and naturopathy, because we have to be. It has been rubbed in that's the negative force's job. We're on the God side. Now, that is the neutral side, so there is a point. But then there is the playing, and you're here for a reason. You don't sit and become totally non-compliant, because you must have activity within creation as you work in the now. And so you have to have some action. You don't have to be involved in the action, but if you're listening and being a channel, it'll tell you what action that's essential for you to make next. And you just make it and watch while you're enjoying the ride. Instead of becoming the ride, you watch the ride. You step back. Don't need to play it anymore. You know totally the experience. You don't need it anymore. You enjoy more the allness of things as it's sitting back and like you're sitting in the throne of God, while your bodies are out having fun, and you can watch and enjoy that. There's different levels that you can achieve in this, importantly so. But this great lymphatic system is vital that each and every one understand. If you want to be well, no matter what you have, what condition, and if you have something and you're serious, and you guys are writing in with, some of you with very serious problems, if you don't hear from me within a couple of days, you call. You know, because those that call about what applesauce to buy prefer not that. Buy a book and learn. But those that are having stents put in their hearts, or going in and having tumors removed and going under chemo, you guys need to call and get yourselves going. Because you're assured to get well if you follow all the rules of nature and of detoxification. And detoxification is just what nature does. We're just copying nature. Except man is the most sick of all the creatures on the planet, bar none, by far. We're way out there. We're mutating babies at an alarming rate from genetics. And this is just simply weakening cells down through the ages. And now we're looking at the cell and going, oh my God. So now we're thinking stem cell, we're thinking all mass, we're thinking of doing all kinds of things, when simply you can regenerate the consciousness of a cell. It's a non-physical experience, but cell memories are non-physical. Cells have brains like we have, but we tend to, a physical scientist, think the brain is the brain. We don't know how it relates to the mind, because we look at things so physical, and sad for those that do. Because you're living in a hell world of materiality. You don't know what freedom and joy of consciousness is like. You're trapped in thoughts and opinions and concepts, and therefore you gossip and you say bad things about people. And it's because you're just out of balance. You have no clue. You're trapped and lost in your mind, and that's what I say, get out of your mind. Real important stuff to learn how to free yourself from this world. This is truly the tree of knowledge, so to speak. And you're so much greater than the thoughts of your mind. You are that which runs all of things. So this great lymphatic system, you can't, it is a mucus lipid-based system. This is why your fatty acids are absorbed right into the lymph system and taken to the liver. The liver is a chemical manufacturing plant. But as I've said, I try to protect these names because so many people are trying to rub them in the ground, and we can't allow that because I'm trying to create a highly ethical line of practitioners that know their stuff, that will be willing to change the consciousness of this planet. And we'll only do it when we're all like-minded. There's things we can add and grow, but when we're like-minded in our understanding of how the body works. And if you can find something else, we're well open to all of that. But understanding the lymph system is vital, whether you can understand it through modern physiology or anatomy. There's been things left out, and we've talked about that. Left about the pro charts. You don't even see the connection to the kidneys. And without kidney filtration, you're in trouble. It's just that simple. If you pee in a jar and it's clear, now I've been asked here if you're going to see sediment every time. I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say you should see it more and more and more and more and more each time. As you move on down the road, different foods will stop you from filtering. You'll see how all this is as you watch your filtration and you eat different foods. That's the beauty of experimentation on yourself, and you've got tens of thousands of people experimenting on themselves too. But the thing is, we've already done this for 40-some years, so we already know what you're going to find. Because I've worked with humans for so many years, I already know where you're going. Because that's where we go. Each and every time. Some of you are advanced. It's going to take a while to work yourself out of it. Don't freak out. Just relax. Pull yourself out of your body. Pull yourself out of your condition. Don't take all these words that medical doctors have told you that you have. Disease this, disease that, this condition. Set them away. Understand that's a dark cloud that only those that breed fear use. Your body's simply made of cells and two major fluids. You hold a little water, but you got cells and two fluids. One fluid feeds the cells and the other fluid cleans the cells. And acts as your immune system. When cells are damaged, they have to be removed. And they're taken to the lymph nodes. And then we remove the lymph nodes because cells are in those lymph nodes that have been damaged. It's like, no. There are problems to all of this, and that's when the kidneys don't filter, everything backs up, and that's when your lymph nodes start swelling. When you feel your lymph nodes swelling, you've lost your filtration in your kidneys to a big extent. And when you start losing the filtration of the kidney itself, that's when you look at your blood and look at your creatinine levels, and your creatinine will show 0.6, 0.7, and you start seeing it go up. Those of you that have 0.7 or above, you're starting to get into trouble. I've got a guy right now that's got almost 0.50. The lab tags it high, and his medical doctor, female, unfortunately, refuses, has not even said a word to him. And I said, you're in deep, deep doo-doo. You're halfway to talking about dialysis. And it's so much quicker to go to the other half. And of course, there's multiple problems with this. And you're going to have multiple problems because when you don't filter from your kidneys and you don't sweat well, you're taking a huge, gigantic sewer system and shutting it down. And this is acids. So you have this lipid cholesterol-based system. This is the system of adrenal steroids. Things like this. You have a whole system involved as well, not just blood. That's the little bitty system. The huge system is the gigantic lymphatic system. Huge. That's why all cancers are lymphomas. And blood cancers, even though they call them lymphomas, they're not. When you have low platelets and low white blood cells, your bone marrow is being chewed on. Higher white bloods and lower platelets, spleen. But what chews on these tissues? Not blood. Blood never chews on you. It's healing. And if the blood gets acidic, you're dead in a few minutes anyway. You don't have to worry about it. It's your lymphatic system that chews and chews and chews and swells and makes tumors and cysts and boils and acne and everything else in the body, not your blood. And no one's told you how to clean that system because most naturopaths are off into the world of treatment. And you can't treat it with glutathiamines and all these kind of crap. Where are you guys coming from? Detoxification is the only tool available for man to restore the health and function of the human body. And that's because the foods are loaded with chemistry in the proper ratios and bonded properly. You have astringents that self-clean the body. You have fruits and veggies and melons and most berries are hydrating because they're predominantly base chemistry and they're indoles. So it keeps you hydrated. Hydration isn't just a blood problem. Blood has to be 7.4 irregardless. What are you trying to hydrate with the blood? You're trying to hydrate the lymphatic system, which is where all the acids go. When you're out exercising, your acids go into the lymph system. They don't go into the blood or you're dead. You're dead quick. You would die on your run. So you have to understand there's just so many checks and balances. The body pulling calcium or sodium or chloride to fight acids. This is why you have certain pathways that are designed in the human body and why our anatomy people and physiology people years back left out things that were discovered in the later early 1900s, left them out of pro charts. Don't let that confuse you. Don't let the medical world confuse you. Don't let academics confuse you because you have a simple body here. Your body, the Homo sapien body, is a tropical species, quoting National Geographic. Don't have to quote them because you can tell for yourself. We're more like primates than any other creature. Get used to that. We're frugivores. Of course a lot of people eat vegetables. Okay with me. Hard to digest. We don't have the GI tract. Okay, if you're just trying to be healthy, but if you're trying to clean out and detoxify the human body or you're trying to rebuild neurological conditions, shuck the vegetables because they're not detoxifiers. I don't care what Wigmore, she's gone. I knew Ann personally. I can tell you I disagreed with her because alfalfa is a superior plant to wheat, but okay. But you're trying to detoxify in Hippocrates and other clinics around the world with green juices, you're going to reach a plateau. And all of you do. I've detoxified so many people, I don't know what to tell you. But detoxification is a water experience. It's not a food-based experience, it's a water experience. The trouble is, man is so dehydrated and so advanced in his acidosis that he's in the chronic and degenerative stages. You don't want to just jump into water fasts. You got to spend some time getting the kidneys to filter, get your body hydrated, that sort of thing, or you're going to have a tough way to go. That's why it's so important to go steps by step by step. Some of you will have to start out with some vegetables in your diet. Okay, do a salad a day, and the rest of the day do fruits, berries, and melons. Those that can drop the salads, drop the veggies, and then go on. Now, this is during detoxification. Detoxification is a strict period of time, and it could be a year. You're not starving. You have plenty of food, and if you're taking herbs, they're all nutritive. Herbs are full of all the vitamins and minerals and all the other babies, flavonoids, coumarins, astringents, all the goods, even alkaloids. Sorry, they're all beneficial. They all come buffered. It's just in chemistry we think in pharmaceutical worlds, and there's no such beast. If you find 1 or 2 recorded deaths in the world from the use of herbology, I'd be shocked. As opposed to over 1 million in just America dying of pharmaceutical land. That's frightening. We accept fatal events as part of any drug, and the FDA is willing to compromise your life by allowing drugs that create fatal events. They've allowed Cipro, which created numerous fatal events in its life, probably hundreds of thousands in just that one drug, at least tens of thousands of deaths. And that's acceptable. And so I don't know about in some of your other countries, but your government doesn't care about you. Are you kidding me? This is all about power, money, and control. It's not about you and your health. You have to become self-smart, streetwise, as they say, but to nature. Because nature has all the laws and no one can get around them. All these intellectuals think they can get around them. They're all falling like flies too. They're all getting sick because they're all following their own stupid advice. They're not doing well from doing it. And this high protein craze, which is stupid and naturopaths, you guys recommending high protein, spit your head under the ground and I'll kick your butt enough times to wake you up. We're not a high protein species and you never do that. It's a quickest way to ruin your client. This is because they're already coming off of high-protein diets. Give me a break. I mean, there has to be an awakening process, guys, and thank God there's so many beautiful ones of you guys out there that are helping so many people. I'm so proud of each and every one of you for digging in and helping yourself, because no one's out there to help you. We're here, and I will always be here to help each and every one of you, and don't forget that. Then you can pull yourself to Wellville. Don't ever think you're too advanced or you're too far gone, but get on it. And if you get a little complacent, kick yourself in the butt. Find something to excite you, but grab an excitement about raw foods, because there's nothing any greater to make you feel more alive, more free, more flexible, more endurance, more awareness. There's nothing like that. We're eating dead food and wondering why we have chronic fatigue. We're eating decayed flesh and wondering why we're so full of acidosis and we stink. We're eating all the starch and why our poop sticks to our butt. You know, I was watching The Five, because I do like Fox, because they are people a little more thinkers of the social consciousness. But this one guy is talking about high protein. This guy thinks he's a big cheese. You know, his verbiage is interesting. They're talking about high protein, and this guy doesn't know a thing. And he's talking about carbohydrates as the problem. Is it really? Fruits and vegetables and berries? See, that's the trouble, is people associate carbohydrates with starch. We do the same association with amino acids and proteins. Why would we do the carbohydrates and starch? Because you're saying the same thing. A carbohydrate is amino acids. See what I'm saying? Carbohydrates to sugar as an amino acid is to protein. But a starch is like a protein. It's a complex group of sugars, as protein is a complex group of amino acids. The body can't use either one of them. Body can't use complex chemistry. That's why there's what? Digestion. You got to remember, absorption is only for smaller particles. Although there has been some radioisotopes on some larger particles being absorbed. But you must understand your lymphatic system no matter what question you have to ask me. The lymphatic system is the 99% of the problem, including when there's a blood-restricted problem, heart attack, strokes from occluded blood vessels, blocked blood vessels. The blockage is coming from the lymph system. The blockage isn't coming from the blood vessels themselves. It's the lymph in the wall of the blood vessels, swelling the blood vessels and creating inflammation in the blood vessels. Heard of that one? Absolutely. There's always a word inflammation and itis for everywhere acids build up in the body, and we just uniquely call it whatever it is. Cystitis in the bladder, just depends where it is. Colitis in the colon, enteritis in the small bowel, gastritis in the stomach. Just depends where it is. Arthur in the joints. It's all the same thing. It's all acidosis. There's only two sides to chemistry. And just remember that there's only two sides to chemistry and two major fluids of the human body. Don't get yourself out of shape with that. Keep it simple. Remember, the mind is trying to pull people away from simplicity and truth, because that's your freedom. And when that's taken away, you have no more freedom. You're lost in thought, in the drama again. And you question everything because nothing makes sense. The answers are not in front of you because you're dealing in separation, isolation. You're dealing in creation, which is unlimited amounts of pieces. The total puzzle is consciousness. That's the jigsaw puzzle put together. The pieces come out of that consciousness. So you can play with the pieces, or you can become conscious and live where your home really is, so to speak. So I wanted to make this because I just don't have time, unfortunately, to address so many of your questions. And I would ask you to please resubmit. I ask you this once in a while because you can't always keep up with you guys. And there is a day I'm going to stop seeing people coming, and I will spend most of my time with you guys with videos and training. And we've got a lot of webinars. We've got a lot of things planned that should be helpful, you know. Because once you guys get it, then it's just perfecting your ability to use herbs and taking people through this course. And some people you have to work diligently. Some people can't even drink water. How do you work through these? That's what detoxification is about. Not is it viable, Not as it radical. You know, detoxification is the essential issue. Those people that use supplements in detoxification is throwing your money away. If you're not taking something specific for tissue, that's why the botanical kingdom, we don't go into botanicals and extract chemistry and then sell it back to you, because that's what man's been doing. And unfortunately, it's idiocy. It's fractional thinking. And you want holistic thinking, not fractional thinking. That's why it's so important to pull yourself away from the mind that you're using and get free. Live in the present moment where time does not exist. Time is always of the mind. The eternal now is where everything is the all. It's the only place you can find it. And people have used drugs. There's one question here I want to get to, where someone asked me about that. And maybe I'll address that now just to throw a little wrench in the thing. I have a few here that I wanted to address, but that this is a Sunday and everything should be dark out there. So, but I do enjoy conversing with you guys and enjoy helping each and every one of you, because when you get your joy back, I get mine back. You know, because I feel everybody's pain. That's the problem. And I'm trying not to, but I love each and every one of you, and I'm right there with you. And some of you I come to at night, and some of you don't remember me coming to you at night, but we work that way. But there's all kinds of spiritual beings, and I'm sure you come to others in their dreams too. These are all bodies on different levels. Fun stuff. A lot of fun stuff out there. And you just don't get your self drugged down too much. You have to pull yourself back. And I'm giving you the gift of all the answers to pull yourself out of this world, out of the lower worlds completely, and out of your hellhole in the physical body. It takes time, but your body will totally rebuild itself into a new, beautiful creature. And if you have to live for a year or two on Raw, so what? So what? The suffering can be horrible for some. It's horrible. And do not accept where you are. Do not accept in the chairs. And I know it's tough. It's tough, and especially when man and wife is involved. And you know who I mean. Grab it and go. Don't live in those chairs forever. This is from Alexandre. I find these are interesting questions, my friend. Let me see. We're the only species with hair and nails that continue to grow all our lives. Some spiritual people say that the hair are a continuation of the pineal gland and tell to never cut it, and native Amerindians say that it helps them to be good hunters. What do you think about that? I think it's too physical thinking. You're totally a being of light and of consciousness. You have nothing to do with this. This is all creation stuff. And if you want to play those sort of things, you can. But you have, all these are just atoms and growing. You want consciousness. That's you. Not how hair grows, nail grows, the body works. Okay. If you live too much in the body, it's going to beat you up. It's like I say, there's so much rituals that the greatest ritual you can have is to be totally conscious. Then there's no need, because you're now arrived at all awareness. And you don't have to be ritualistic about it, because that separates, isolates, fractional thinking again. And you can put anything, you can reference anything. And you can make anything as holy as you want. You can make every shell that I find in the ocean holy. And you should. I think you should. I'm totally a Rumi lover, although, like I said, I love Rumi's master better, Shamus Tabriz. But Rumi has a great message, Sufi master that found the whirling dervishes, remember? He had a message to all life, and that is to see that love principle, see God in everything, see yourself in everything. And that way you respect everything and give homage to everything. But outside of that, you can make anything ritualistic. You can turn water into wine if you want. But you're talking very physical, very energetic structures of creation. And so you can have fun. There's all levels. There's levels that'll probably freak some of you right out. in terms of what you can do and how you can make creation change and adapt and what you can create. And it's like, okay, it's unlimited. But there are those that are time to awaken even more out of the game. That was hard when I was doing the radio show with the Native American because there was so much ritual thinking. And I'm not a ritualistic thinker because you'll trap yourself into rituals that only have power if you feed it power. You know, everything can have power if you feed it power. And how do you feed anything power? Your attention. Simply placing your attention on anything starts to turn it on. That's the secret. You are the power that turns on everything. The body, physical body, without your power, it goes back to atoms again. Astrally, you dissipate causally. You start to lose form, you start to lose these things, because you're not any of these things. These are the illusions of life. Jesus talked about the illusions, Buddha, the illusions of materiality. These are all the spiritual people talk about these things, because they freed themselves from it. And then you see the little clues of detachment. Live as poverty consciousness. You don't have to. You can play poverty consciousness. I did for a lot of years. Now I just don't care one way or the other. Because either way is going to trap you. I need money. I don't need money. Either way, they're both separate sides of the same coin. And it's your caring either way that traps you. So that's why to be free you have to not care. It'll be provided. You don't have to worry about that. They're great providers. Now, do you think that sexual abstinence could provide more energy to the adrenals, increase the detoxification? Yes. And help males to become less obsessed and let them stop seeing women as items? You know what? You know what will help more than that? Is the natural process of wellness and of spirituality. Because when you view a man or a woman, it doesn't matter the gender. If you like women, then it's the female gender. If you like men, it's the male gender. And it doesn't matter who's the liker, male or female. Because it just doesn't matter. Nature doesn't put a thing on that. So, you know, you're going to light up your light however. But when two can come together in a very spiritual union, and each one is maintaining their consciousness, then it isn't an emotional union. It is an etheric union like you can't describe. Movement is almost too gross because you're basking in the allness of each other. So there's all levels to this, cool levels to this. And still maintaining your individuality and freedom. The worst thing relationships do is lose your individuality and freedom, and pretty soon you're not free anymore and you're both blocked. That's what it's for. That's personal love and attachment, more attachment than love. And mostly you'll find it's your shortcomings that are locking you to that. Your weaknesses and emotions and adrenals and things like that. So really, you can't force. You can't say, I'm going to abstain and become celibate, and that will make me see women differently, because that isn't the case. You know, because you'll be masturbating a lot. So that's not how you change your consciousness. Could you explain the link between the body, the chakras, and every faculty of the mind? Are you kidding? You've got, as far as I know, you got the mind. You've got 3 levels of the mind. There's probably many sub-levels, but you have 3 basic bodies. You have the etheric, which is called the subconscious by some psychologists and Jung and stuff. We call it the id, the ego. That's that fine line where the individuality of consciousness takes on separateness from itself. Hard to describe. And pure consciousness, there's no separateness. But in the mind, there is, even in the high mind of individuality, which is very thin. Those that overwork that body, you can tell, very narcissistic. I'm better than you. You know what ego is. But ego has a very, very, very thin line that simply sets you as an individual as opposed to the all. Still of the same, and you still know you're of the same, but you see your individuality. Then you have the tremendous cosmic consciousness. That's the universal mind. Like I've said, Holmes wrote volumes about this. This is why you can think the same thought a brother in Australia, can think, and we can all think similar thoughts because we all share the universal mind. Our minds each come out of that universal mind level. That's cosmic consciousness. That is when you really get your first real nirvanic experience. That is still a formless world in the sense that any form you see is totally manufactured for yourself if you're in the lower bodies. And hard to explain that world. Then you have causal. That is the lower mind. That is basically the thyroid, the parathyroid. That's also the time track, past, future. That's where you can see the Akashic records of your past lives. Whether you believe it or not, it's okay. Doesn't have to change from getting yourself healthy, but this is a conversation as a question. You have endocrine glands that relate to each part of these worlds. And it's just your adrenals relate to the next world known as the astral world. Some call it the emotional world, some the world of feelings. All kinds of names people call these worlds, commonly known in spirituality and physics and metaphysics as the astral world. Ben Franklin, a lot of your constitutional people were astral travelers. They were Rosicrucian. A lot of groups got together, trained their students or devotees into astral travel. A lot of yogas travel into the astral worlds all the time. Very travelable worlds. Most anyone can have an out-of-body experience to these heavens. Sometimes this is why you see the movie, because we think of heaven in Christianity, sometimes it's just one place. The trouble is, in creation, there is endless levels. And it can be confusing to one because this is creation as opposed to consciousness or that which is real, the soul, for a lack of a better word. The perception, bandwidth of perception, reflexes, memory, concentration of attention. Well, you have your five senses. They're always going to respond. And whether it's set up into favorable responses or non-favorable responses, all is so connected to the mind and emotions. Your bodies are so wrapped, so together that your feelings will trip up your ego. I mean, your endocrine glands work so close together, so does your bodies. They're all intertwined. Some people have them layer on layer on layer, but we're all immersed in all of these worlds now. For those that see auras, you're starting to see the auric shields of each body. You can see these bodies that you house together, and if you pull back, you'll finally get to the difference of Twitchell was talking about, the difference between soul travel and astral travel or mind travel. You can travel in any of your bodies, simply withdraw your attention from your physical body, and you'll find it pulling into another body of yours. Sometimes you don't have a choice, it's just where it takes you, whether it's in your astral body or mental bodies. The soul is that which is beyond all bodies. That is the intelligence of you that turns on the light switch of each body while you take it on. Everything has to have these bodies to get here. This is why plants have memories, cells have memories, and it's the only way you can truly understand genetics and genetic memories and how you can change them. If you don't understand that layout of creation, you're lost. And these are maps that put together. Twitchell put the biggest map together, but the lower worlds have been put together by individuals since from Jesus to Buddha to everyone and talked about. The Gospels, there's over 23 of them that talk about these worlds. The agnostics were travelers of these worlds. The Essenes, travelers of these worlds. Instead of being isolating yourself, encompass and embrace life and the allness of it. Don't be afraid because you can't be hurt. And especially if you're more conscious, then you know how to stop things. When you're unconscious and lost in thought, that's when someone more conscious that can control you. You see it in India all the time, and a lot of you Indians know what I'm talking about. Guru to Chila. A lot of that goes on. And I'm trying to build a strength in you that goes way beyond. Build your awareness, don't build your bodies. You've been playing with them for plenty of times. Reflection and imagination, of course, that's, it's just moving your attention into any of your other body. Plenty of worlds to play in. And it's quickness. Intuition, ego, violation, emotions, seems to... I know some people use drugs to increase their performance or to attain spiritual goals. And if neurotransmitters act on the neurons, we can say that psychoactive drugs increase the vibration. Well, yeah, they're also neurotoxic and can affect you in that way. Shut down your breathing, shut down your nervous system, and throw you in an altered state, changing the blood pH dramatically. And they can affect you in a lot of ways. You go back to Timothy Leary, and you go into LSD. I definitely had done some LSD. We call it window pane. But it is the one drug that brings you into the now. And if you're not strong, you'll trip. Because that is in creation. That is the etheric body, the ego. And it starts tripping. That's the unconscious. And it's putty. These worlds are putty. You can make anything you want. However, it pulls you into an intense nowness that you'll never forget. Mushrooms, psychotropic mushrooms, do the same thing. Same type of experience. If you've had those, then you learn that you can do this without those things. And that's what they're there for, to use and learn how to have the experience naturally. Because, look, I'm in the now, I'm not thinking. And that's how you can use that. You don't need to use drugs to do that. But, this world is pretty coarse and pretty solidified. And I don't blame anybody. There's plenty of alcoholics out there that are great spiritual beings, and they don't want any more of this world. They don't know how to find freedom. And look at that and understand, you have a lot of brethren out there that look like they're lost souls. They just don't know how to find their sukkah. And you might be the very one to tap them on the back and say, this is what you need to do. Remember that. Take your rightful place, each and every one of you, into the spiritual worlds of God, because whatever you wish to call it. But work on getting away from that mind. And by the way, my dear friends, thank you for the journal for Krishnamurti. I love J. Krishnamurti. He's the one that can break you out of your thoughts quite a bit. Great guy. Not living anymore. So I hope this answers your question, Alexandria. Here's one that I wanted to do for YouTube, and then she wants this back. I have a client who has had their gallbladder removed, and I was wondering how the body compensates when this happens and how this impacts the digestive process thereafter, as well as what dietary habits the client has to observe going forward other than standard recommended ones with going more towards raw. Well, you have a more difficult time emulsifying fats. Anytime you start consuming more fatty foods, obviously you're going to get diarrhea from it. The liver does take up some compensation for that. And if you've lost your gallbladder for stones, I'd flush my liver because the liver can be full of stones as well. And I just get my liver healthy and eat food simple. Stay away from complex foods, particularly complex fats. If you're supposed to anyway. Cheeses and dairy products, all crap. Stay away from these fatty food type things. You might have some problem with avocado, some do and some don't. So you just have to see how that goes. But I would strive to go after why I lost the gallbladder and go after getting my lymph system cleaned up, because it's the lymph system in the wall of the gallbladder that lost the gallbladder. It's the lymph system in the wall of the liver that causes hepatitis. It's because everything's chambers. It's about the cells and the two fluids that take care of them. Of course, when we tie it on and we bring in a lot of acid chemistry, that's going to kick our butts on top of everything. So alcohol might be a little trouble to process as well. But you know what? You just have to see, and you just have to make a person healthy and well that way. Be nice to try to grow a gallbladder back. That would mean to really go after that liver and use a lot of the liver formula for a while and really get that GI tract cleaned up, the lymph system moving in everywhere, and just see, because things do grow back. And you might want to see if that is a challenge to your client, my dear, and see if they can get their gallbladder to grow back. But keep it as well as possible. The average person, face it, after detox is going to have some steamed or cooked vegetables. They're going to have some salads in their lives. They're going to come and balance out, because we have these conditioned minds. And so, who cares? Don't make this world your joy, because you'll be sorry you did. Make yourself your joy, because that is the joy. Your consciousness, awareness is joy, and that's what you are. The bodies are playgrounds, are tools. Keep them separate. I've been on detox for 8 months. Finally, I'm starting to filter. I've had 2 days of filtration, and then it stopped. What could be the reason? It could be the food change. It could, who knows? Maybe you're just now turning things on a little bit. Keep turning them on. Do we have to see sediment all the time, or just in the morning? You should see it, I would say, at least 80% of the time. Would it be good to use lymphatic herbs now that I know I can filter? Oliver, hell yeah. Get honking now, buddy. 2 kidneys and 2 lymphatics, and take yourself on down the road. Yeah, this is from Jake. Hey, Jake. Which choice is more optimal for one who is undergoing detox? Unripe fruit, dried fruit, veggies. You want me to take a pick out of those 3? If I had to take a pick out of those 3, holy crap. Boy, I don't know what to tell you. It depends how unripe the fruit is. I'd probably go to as ripe a fruit as I could find. I'd probably go to dried fruit. Veggies, you're not going to detox well, so that's a no-brainer. Now, organic dried fruit versus organic frozen fruit. I'm going to say organic frozen fruit if you want the power of the punch, because you don't lose so much magnetics as you think, versus conventional. Well, I'll say this. These are good questions. I'm going to say this. I would have conventional grapes over frozen grapes, but I would probably do frozen organic strawberries over conventional strawberries, obviously. There's some conventional foods you just don't want to do because of the pesticides. But I like foods as fresh as I can get them in terms of vibration and frequency and taste. I think frozen organic is probably second best. Anything below that. Dried fruit, definitely powerful, good, but most dried fruit are, well, you can dry papayas, you can dry mangoes. They're good. And I'd say that was good. I've never tried detoxing all on dried fruit. Never done that. It might be interesting, But I think frozen still, flash frozen organic is going to be good, when you let that out. Imported fruit, ouch. But most fruit is imported. These are owie questions, man, because none of these are favorable. None of these are favorable. You want to live in Costa Rica or Thailand or somewhere where you have fresh fruit all the time. The DR, there's plenty of countries out there. But, conventional, are you talking about like in the States? If you're in the States, conventional, I'll probably buy state food as opposed to imported. But then again, we don't have very good fruit here in the States, and some imported fruit is pretty good. So I would be using that. Raw honey versus medjool dates. I'm going to go medjool dates over raw honey. But I don't have a problem with raw honey unless one is, Now, does eating soaked nuts and seeds bog down the process of detoxification only for the day or for longer? Well, if you did too many of them, you would just slow yourself right down to nothing. If you did it once in a blue moon, who cares? When detoxing, how often should one consume avocados and or hemp oil? Well, remember, oils also have a little bit of a digestive issue there. But when you're in a lot of pain, oils are anti-inflammatory. Remember that? That's your lymph system again. So oils go into the lymph system. That's natural. So you don't absorb oils out of your bowels, out of your small bowel into your bloodstream. You absorb it into your lymph system. And that lymph system carries it then to the liver. There's some old charts that show this. That's so the medical doctor, one of them that was in our class, said he'd never seen that chart. Well, I had never either. So that's the problem. But you have to sometimes think outside of the box, because there's a lot of boxes in our scientific community that people can't break. Why? Because they're using their minds too much. It takes spirituality to break boxes, because if you're trapped in your mind, that's all boxes. Boxes of comparative analysis and things like this out of other comparative analysis and thoughts, not out of getting back and being conscious of seeing all the interactions of physics and chemistry and all life together. Sometimes we ask the wrong questions out of mind that you can ask when you see more. Like you guys are asking more questions, not particularly the ones, but we are asking better questions of how the body works than ever have been asked before. Then, of course, in the iris as well, tons of questions there. It's going to take research and having fun with it without getting trapped in research. You know what I mean? Because we got trapped in it. And I think the FDA got trapped in it. And you have a bunch of unconscious people running all these places. You know, these are all narcissistic people that think they know about health. They don't know crap. They're willing to kill people because of that. Does raw honey slow down detoxification? Too much would. Not a little dab will do ya. Are garlic and onions a no-no when detoxifying? I would say definitely a no-no, and you'll find that as you get up into the higher levels of raw foodism, they're a little pungent and they are sulfurs. So the sulfurs you're going to find repulsive after a while. But, you know, cook smothered onions on the Barbie with a hamburger. Grain burger. What do we have? A bean burger. Apple cider vinegar. You know what? I'm not a fan of any vinegars. If you want to do some apple cider vinegar, I don't care. But I'm not a fan of fermented foods. Why do we seek to eat foods that are dying for? We just love foods that are dying or dead. And I find that just atrocious. I was watching an orangutan female one time, and she was kicking through the overripe fruit and found her fruit that was fairly ripe and brought it over to her tree and sat down and was eating them. I thought it was quite interesting, you know. People that have too much ripe foods fart a lot, you know. Why? Because you're already eating fermented foods. They're already causing gas, and we like those. Sauerkrauts and the like. Well, taste is one thing, but proper feeling in the body and digestion, you know, you're eating foods that are decaying. Yummy, 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 right? No. That ripe, tree-ripe fruits, those are nirvanic and yummy, yummy, yummy. But even a date, you know, and a fig that are dried, okay. Those are good. Fiji versus Aquapana. You know what? I like glass, but I like the Fiji water. It showed a little bit of elevation of arsenic in it over other waters. I don't know how that plays. It's all natural in that way. I didn't think it was significant enough to be thought of. But I would rather have Evian in glass, because I've been by their place in France. They're up in the Alps, and it's like, wow. I mean, really pristine water. So I would love to see Evian have bottled water, and I think their pHs are better. They're up about 8, I think, or 7.5. Better. You know, more like blood. And that's better. You know, if seeded watermelons are available, should one settle for, if seeded watermelons are unavailable? Hell yeah, I don't care. I love watermelon. I'm going to eat whatever, but I bought a bunch because we don't have seeded ones yet. And they're just so bad. I hope Monsanto's standing up proud that they created food that tastes like shit. You know, and it's like, you guys are so narcissistic, it's unbelievable. And you created crap food for people to eat on the planet. Hope you're proud of yourselves, because that's what it is. Have you ever tasted a seeded watermelon grown properly, picked ripe, as opposed to a seedless one? Give me a break. You know, and that's the problem. Nobody cares about these kind of foods because nobody realizes the power and the potency and the value of these foods in one's life and health. And when you realize we're making the very foods that are supposed to sustain us taste like crap because of why? See, the problem is engineering foods like this that have no shelf life, and now they've engineered it so bad. Yeah, I don't know if you're noticing this with your seedless melons, but it can sound ripe and good and go in, and it's way overripe or way underripe. And leave it a day on the counter, and it's just starting to deteriorate. Where organic foods, you can keep them on the counter for days and days. Oh no, we've screwed with the chemistry so bad in the soil and everything. We've got serious problems. Oh yeah. Yeah, I hope the tropics can handle all of us, because I don't know. If one has a history of using excessive quantities of Vicodin, Xanax, cigarettes, marijuana, and Big Macs, what issues would you expect for them to experience? Well, I mean, you could go through some neural withdrawals and shakes and stuff like this with the Vicodin and the Xanax, absolutely, and also with the cigarettes. The weed a little bit, maybe, you know. Big Macs, possible. I don't know. I was thinking the Survival Man one time, and he was saying, well, I just can't wait to get back and get a Big Mac. It was one of them, and I'm going, I bet. So, don't let anything stop you, though. I know that there's been a lot of nasty chemicals and antidepressants that have just ruined so many people. Don't let anything stop you on your journey to well-being. Most of what you're going to experience in detox is going to be withdrawals, in terms of that sort of thing, headaches, of course, but that doesn't last long. You could get some shortness of breath as some of these neurotoxins come out, absolutely, or some anxieties when they start to come out, no question. But remember, you're hitting the adrenals at the same time, you're using herbs at the same time, and you're using foods that are buffers. And you got to remember that's very helpful. And if you're real toxic, you then could use green drinks to also help buffer more. And that's when I would be in favor of green drinks. Get the pulp out and get into the parsleys, the dandelion greens, particularly the parsleys and cilantros. You can put in Irish moss. You can put in some kelp. Definitely can get in some good green drinks that are buffering to neurotoxins and excitotoxins and stuff. So, yeah, I would agree to that. And just work yourself out of it, Sometimes you might spend a few days or weeks in Hellville, but doors will start opening and the sun will start coming in. But you have to take those steps and make the go, and do it, whatever it takes. Get your life back, get your joy back, Best protocol for weak adrenals without glandulars. Well, kidney formulas, all the kidney formulas you can use, of course, adrenals formulas, endocrine gland formulas. Because remember, don't forget the pituitary and tripping up the adrenals. If you're tripping up everything else, you keep tripping up the adrenals and don't work, go to the pituitary. All right? Is bathing important? Due to not having a stench, I've been avoiding the filthy fluoride, chlorine, etc. by showering about once every month. But here's the problem. And it's true, though, the more pure and clean you get, I don't know where I can argue on this, but at the same time, remember, your skin is an elimination gland, or organ, if you will, more of an organ, I guess. But it's an elimination organ like your kidneys. So you're designed to evaporate gases and to eliminate acid. So I've always felt keeping yourself fairly clean, every few days maybe if you want. Some people shower every day, those that, have a lot of proteins in their life. But if you're a fruitarian, man, you just don't feel dirty, nor do you stink or anything else. So it's a good question. I would probably shower a lot more frequently because you are an elimination machine in that way. And you want these acids off the skin and keep the skin live and healthy. So me, myself, and I like a shower every day or every other day myself. Now, Tom. Thanks, Tom, for your inspiration. I appreciate it, my friend. About 15 years ago, I got into the natural hygienic writers and since have been eating mostly mucus-free raw foods with routine fasting, which is a perfect way to live life. The natural hygienic approach to life is perfect. You've got your fruits, you've got your veggies, you got a day of fasting. You can take off on a 2-week fast or whatever. These are great lifestyles. And if you add some, I think the natural hygienic people down here in the Shangri-La Fasting Clinic would always have Friday evening meal as a steamed meal. A salad with steamed vegetables. But then everything else, there's a water fasting clinic. And if you live your life, well, that's perfect. If you cheated once in a while with dead tissue, okay. Whatever you do. But when you're detoxing, this is a focus. And you want to ride with that focus and get yourself as deep into those jungles as you can and clean out all the crap. And your light will shine through every cell in your body. And there's just no words to show the light emanating from every cell of your body. There's no words for that. Sometimes we have to step back. It's so strong. A couple of years ago, I started experiencing endocrine gland-related problems, such as, and this is a guy that went all raw. See, so you can see that raw doesn't cure anything. But here's the problem: is that we move from a SAD or a typical diet of our culture, which is generally full of proteins and some dairies of some sorts, yogurts or cheeses or milks, and your grains of some sort. So we realize that all that stuff isn't food anymore. And we start moving to a natural hygienic diet. We're doing raw, and we feel we should do pretty good. Not at all. don't forget, you haven't fixed anything from the past. You've moved yourself to a diet and certain things will clear up. You've taken yourself definitely higher into a much better world, but this is where it shows you the difference of vegetable eating and what fruit eating takes you much further. And herbs and how to get into the body. And that's the problem, is the lymph system was never fixed. And if you don't fix your kidneys and filtration and your sewer system and you go on raw, nothing could change much. You feel better, but your tumors could keep growing. We had raw foodists in here all the time wondering why. You're not filtering. And once they start filtering, guess what? All life changes for them. Absolutely. Now, a couple of years ago, I started experiencing endocrine problems such as panic attacks, chronic fatigue, daily brain fog, heat sensitivity, feeling faint after minor physical activity, etc. Now, we could assume adrenals. Obviously, this guy knows about his adrenals. But what else? We're talking about brain fog and things. What are we thinking about? How about pituitary? You might want to think about that one. But here's another thing. Have you detoxified your brain yet? Have you dewormed yourself? Because just shifting to an all-raw diet or predominantly raw diet doesn't necessarily do this, although you can see a lot of worms coming out all on raw, no question. But they'll be alive, and so that's why this guy's going through some things. Now, upper circuit brain and nerve is the one I was going to say to you, Tom, but I'll tell you, you got to detox at the same time. You got to get your kidneys filtering and get your lymph moving, and really clean yourself out up there. You might want to spend a couple of months on Parasite M just in case you're so fungled up that they constantly create this brain fog in you. But the upper circuit brain and nerve's the one. I do 2 kidneys, 2 lymphatics. Always work on that system, because this is just a bunch of cells with 2 major fluids, same chemistry and everything else. I also did a couple of months of adrenal thyroid. I had low basal temperature. And don't forget the pituitary. That keeps coming with you. I don't know why. Parathyroid and kidney glandulars. I overcame the worst symptoms like the panic attacks early on, but still have bad fatigue, periodic anxiety, and bad daily brain fog. And I would keep getting up in here, but at the same time, keep drawing on that lymph. Do the 2 kidney herbal formulas, one capsule, one. And I want to talk about that because, when you're going after your lymph system, and you can get any herbs you want. I'm not trying to push our formulas, that I made them for my clinic because I needed something to work. And people like them, practitioners liked them, wanted to carry them, and that's how I started growing with them. I had no intention to market them in any way, shape, or form. And they're there for people to use them in our club because they're, you just look around for formulas. In some of you countries like Denmark and others, we can't get into them. Codex and the people are restricting this. So your governments have restricted your ability to get well. How interesting is that a government, which is made of people, can suppress other people's lives? Look at what's going on in Russia. I mean, look at all this stuff. It's just, it's going to come to a head, But I want you to think about this. The first kit that we use is look at those herbs, and that's what you want to have in mind. You have 1 kidney formula. Why would I have a kidney formula for? To get the kidneys open. These are the eliminative organs of your sewer system. You don't filter, you don't move your lymph. Sorry. If you can find out differently, let me know. But we've seen this time and time, every time, right? Then we've got a lymphatic formula, because what system do the kidneys control? The lymphatic system. That's your main immune sewer system / transport. Then you've got a liver gallbladder. Everybody needs to get into that chemical factory, and also it'll kick over to the skin and kick over to the pancreas. So that's perfect. Then you've got a GI tract. Everybody's got to clean up the bowels. That's distortion city, so that's a big deal. And then you got endocrine glands. All our glands are messed up. And then you got 2 worm killers. And I might have even added another kidney in the first kit, because we have so many kidney failures out there. It's not even funny. And that's how you start. You want to deworm yourself for the first couple of weeks or month. Even if you don't see anything, you're all full of funguses and stuff, so you want to go after that. Then I kick it up to 2 kidney formulas, 2 lymphatic formulas, one capsule, 1 tincture. This is what I do. And I do 2 of them. Doesn't matter which ones, have fun with them. They're to play with. But I start out with one and work myself up. Now, number 5 lymphatics are a little bit of a butt kicker, and those are really for the big tumors and stuff like this, the cysts and things like this. A lot of you have the sulfurs, the orange in the eye, the bloaty, gassy bowels. You got to get the GI broom. You got to clean the sulfur out. Get a light and a magnifying glass and have people look in your eyes. If you have gassy, bloaty bowels, chances you have a lot of sulfur. You're going to have a lot of fungus. You're going to have a lot of uric acid. You're going to have a lot of gassy, blowy bowels. That sulfur got to come out of there. The lymph system in the wall. You've got to move that, and you've got to get that hydrated. So it sounds complicated, but keep it very simple. Change your diet to all raw, number 1. I would do all fruit through the day with a salad at night. For those that will have tumors or bigger problems or in chairs or neurological, get rid of the vegetables as quick as you can. They're going to hold you back. And then do fruits, berries, and melons. Your field is plentiful. The bounty is plentiful on the planet. Now that we have trucking and stuff, you can argue about conventional, argue about sprayed and everything else, but there's a lot of hype in this country about countries overspraying their foods. We're the worst offenders of chemistry on the planet, or one of them. I mean, we have our guidelines now. Still, I mean, we're down on China for using lead and other stuff like that, and look at the pharmaceuticals we kill people with. Oh. So you're going to go that way. You're always going to clean up the GI tract. You're always. So we have stomach and bowel formulas for that. Some will help you move you. We don't make laxatives. So you want to get in and start cleaning that body out. You hope for a cold and flu-like symptom. You want the body to go into a purging because you'll clean so much more out when you purge. Notice how good you feel after a cold and flu-like symptom? Because what's coming out, baby? Mucus from the head and sinus, lungs, bronchi. And we breathe better, we smell better, we taste better because we put that in there. We put in proteins that irritate the mucosa and create mucus. And we can't complain about it when we can't talk like this anymore. All of that stuff. We do that to ourselves. So those of you who are suffering, don't make life difficult. It's simple to get your way home. Might be a little longer for some of you suffering more. It might be a little more difficult. Don't let things stop you like that. You know, it's all about getting your joy back and your health back. And if you want spirituality, we'll throw a little of that in the mix. I did try everything you've said for brain fog, such as ear candles and a lot of GI broom, but I can't seem to shake it. You know, I take the parasite M, see if you're probably loaded with fungus in there. If your adrenals have been down, it's real possible. Pick up the pituitary a little bit. Say a pituitary gland near 1 a.m., 1 p.m., 1 bottle. That's it, and see how you do with that. Get a detox going deeper out of that. Do your neural lymphatics down your back and work on that. It feels more like an endocrine issue in my head. Well, then go after the pituitary. You know, go after that. Stay with the upper circuit, brain, and nerve, though. That's a killer. But I still do parasite M. Is there something that I'm missing? Also, whenever I take adrenal glandular herbs, the brain fog gets even worse. Well, you might want to come on. Maybe you've reached saturation. You need to come off of them, back down off of some. Maybe you've had enough. You know, sometimes on these glandulars, you get enough. You don't need to do a lot of them. They're just really to jumpstart things. You know, and that's what they're for, to jumpstart. And then once we get the mucus and the lymph moving through these tissues, then they start functioning better. Once we ignite them with conscious chemistry, then they start changing their memory patterns. They start coming out of the chronicness and the hypoactivity. They start producing more steroids or hormones or neurotransmitters. We're not done. The cells will regenerate. The body regenerates. If you're done, you're living in the mind and you're living on the negative side of the mind. You know, that's people love to live on that side. And it's like, no, I don't think so. My kidneys filter okay, that's good. I've noticed that they filter much more when I drink green drinks. Oh, that's interesting. I recently did a week of water fasting interspersed with fruit juice days and felt better for a few days, but the brain fog. Yeah, you know, keep doing it. Do an extended grape fast. You know, go on a 20, 30-day grape fast at the same time. Take parasite M for during that period of time, and maybe, you know, some detox herbs with that. which I thought that might help come out. Okay, I would really like to get beyond the fatigue. Yeah, keep working in that way. You know, go after that. Pick up the pituitary. Stay away from the adrenals at all. Maybe you've reached a certain plateau. You know, sometimes these glandulars, it's like magnetics. If you reach a full, that's it. Any more, you'll start going down the other way, and that can be a bit of a problem. But work yourself through these. I'll be glad to come back when I'm back from a little vay and enjoy talking with you again. But you know my love is always with you guys. And thank you, all of you class members. We had a lot of fun. I enjoyed you guys. I enjoy every class that we have. We have so much fun. There's always never enough time for everything. Each class is uniquely different. I don't go with the mind and everything is rigid because then it wouldn't be fun. So we like to move and breathe in that class. I just never did like the rigidity of the mind and stuff. I like to kick it up a bit. So I appreciate all your attendance, and I love every one of you. Thanks for all your love and gifts, and you all have fun, because I plan to go have some fun. And we'll see you on the next video. Love to each and every one of you, my dear ones.